Hi there, and welcome to Mr. T's Maths. In this video, I'll be showing you how to change the subject of a formula. Well, when rearranging a formula, you apply the same rules that are used when solving equations. So when you solve an equation, you want to isolate the unknown. Well, when rearranging a formula, you're using exactly the same concept. You want to isolate that letter, so you have to move everything to the other side of the equal sign. But you have to remember that when moving things to the other side of the equal sign, you have to perform the opposite operation. So here are some examples. Let's go ahead and try to make x the subject in all of them as required. So in the first one, x plus 2 equals a. Now we want x to be on its own, so we have to get rid of these 2. As we can see, 2 is added to x, so when we move it to the other side, it's going to be subtracted. So x equals a minus 2. And that's it. X is the subject. In the next example, t minus 2x equals s. We can see that 2x is subtracted from t. Now this minus there, it's not very easy to work with for some people. So I would advise you to just move the whole thing to the other side and have everything positive. So t equals s plus, in this case, 2x. Now we want to isolate 2x, so we move s to the other side. Since s is added to 2x, then we end up with t minus s equals 2x. The last step is getting rid of this number 2 on the right hand side, so we move it to the left. T minus s, the operation between 2 and x is multiplication, so when we move the 2 to the other side, it will have to be converted to division. So we have t minus s divided by 2 equals x, and x is the subject. Now whether you want to leave it like this or you want to write it as x equals t minus s over 2, that's entirely up to you, but it's the same thing. So in this third example, x plus p divided by q equals r. As we can see, x plus p is being divided by q, so when we move q to the other side, it's going to be r times q. X plus p equals r q. Now p is added to x, so when we move p to the other side, it will be subtracted from whatever we have on that side already. So x equals to rq minus p, and that's our answer. In this last example, we can either expand the bracket or get rid of these 3, just move it to the other side, which actually is going to be much easier. So x plus b, the whole of x plus b is being multiplied by 3, so when we move 3 to the other side, whatever we have here on the right hand side will be divided by 3. So now we simply need to get rid of b. As we can see here, b is added onto x, so when we move it to the right hand side, it will be subtracted from whatever we have there already. So a divided by 3 minus b, and that's our answer. I have 4 more examples here, so let's go ahead and do them. Feel free to pause the video and try them yourselves beforehand, obviously. Ax plus 2y equals 4. For the time being, we want to isolate ax, so we don't want the 2y on this side. We are going to get rid of it, move it to the other side. Therefore, ax equals 4 minus 2y. Now, the operation between a and x is multiplication, so when we get rid of a, everything on the right hand side will be divided by a. And that's our answer. Now in the next example we have p equals q plus s over x. A common misconception is to just move this x here, but we can't do that because as we can see we have a division, yeah, and then to this number we are adding q. So first we have to get rid of this q, we have to move the q to the other side. P minus q equals s over x. Now at this point, yes, we can get rid of the x from here, we can move it to the other side. Since s is being divided by x, when we move it to the other side, whatever we have on the left hand side will be multiplied by x. So x times p minus q equals s. Now we don't want to expand the bracket because then x will just be all over the place. We want to isolate x. So we are going to get rid of p minus q from this left hand side. Therefore x will be equal to s over p minus q. In this next example, in the third example, we have a times b plus x equals sine of c. Well, again, we want x to be the subject, so we are going to isolate for the time being b plus x. So b plus x will be equal to sine c divided by a. Why divided? Because the operation between a and the bracket here is times, so when we move a to the other side it will be division, the opposite operation. And now finally we want to get rid of b, so x equals sine of c over a. Now b is added to x, so when we move b to the other side, the opposite of addition is subtraction, so we are going to subtract b. And that's our answer, where x is the subject. In this last example we want again x to be the subject. As we can see, we have one of those cases where we have something minus dx, and you know I always like to make this, to have this positive, so I'm going to move it on the other side. So ab equals c plus dx. This is very similar to an example we did earlier. Now we want to get rid of this c because our objective is to isolate x, remember. Therefore ab minus c will be equal to dx, and finally we want to get rid of d, ending up with ab minus c divided by d equals x, and we can leave it like that, as I said earlier. Well, I hope you found this video useful. I hope you are now feeling more confident with changing the subject of a formula, and well, see you in the next video. Take care.